I believe that every movie adheres to the 29-point story structure. No matter if the writer outlines first or if they dive in blind, the end product follows the same 29 beats. Nobody is my 43rd piece of evidence. This movie feels like the launch title for an ongoing franchise, not just a sequel or trilogy. They introduced entirely too many juicy questions, then left us with entirely too many open-ended characters. And I predict this first installment will be mined for plot ideas and running gags for years to come, which this movie has more than enough character to draw from. Ilya Naishuller placed a heavy focus on character and concept building, creating an introduction that lends naturally to world building and expansion. Bob Odenkirk approached this dry-humored role with a focus and dedication of a man proving himself beyond conventions. And I'll be damned if they didn't pull it off, thanks in no small part to the 29-point story structure. Let's begin. A tight focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. We're thrown straight into the oppressively dull everyday of Hutch Mansell, who draws his first line in the sand when told to surrender his wedding ring, the symbol of his family. Where, why, and how the protagonists exist in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Even with the clear advantage, Hutch declines to take the violent route, and not a damn person around him understands why he didn't act, all filled with judgment and betrayal. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the characters away from their status quo. Abby finds protective comfort in Hutch's arms, even as she looks to change that she thinks the family needs. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it in relation to the status quo. Hutch trudges onward in the same oppressive role he leads, while his brother-in-law hands him a handgun for home protection. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Hutch's desire to buy the business from his father-in-law is met with skepticism and slight ridicule, and an unexpected radio communication with an unknown person highlights a mysterious depth of experience from an unspoken past that his father clearly misses. And the loss of Abby's bracelet is the final quake that unearths Hutch's refusal for action. Characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, which is smaller in scope than the primary objective of the third act. Hutch digs into his past to correct the wrongs inflicted upon his family, and embarks on a tireless mission of revenge and violence. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act. The mystery of Hutch's past and the terror from those who know, Hutch's descent back into his violent past, and of course the complications to this lifestyle from family and their needs. The singular event that launches the characters into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. A group of drunken and likely concussed dude bros board the bus, and they make perfect targets for Hutch's simmering rage. Oh shit. Characters must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Hutch shakes off the sleeper agent dust and reacquaints himself with the fine art of whooping ass, and even reboards the bus to continue his escapades, yet doesn't stoop to cold-blooded murder, just critical injuries and mass hemorrhaging. Characters showcase their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Becca is only somewhat shaken by Hutch's injuries, and mentions how this used to be a thing they did, which leads to her bringing down her wall somewhat, as though open to rekindle their romance. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. Then we meet Yulian, the typecast Russian gangster / American Idol contestant, who doesn't shy away from showing us his tender, murderous side and his familial connection to Hutch's bus brawl. An escalation of problems that vex the characters. Yulian's brutality is on full display just as he receives his first clue to Hutch's identity. The mysterious radio voice calls by phone to warn about Yulian, then the barber, who doesn't appear to be the actual barber in this scene, if I have that correct, stacks on more warning about Yulian and his resources. Characters evolve internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Yulian's intel officer discovers who Hutch is and promptly quits, and Hutch recognizes the approach of a task force which does not pair well with the perfect lasagna dinner. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. Hutch defends the ever-living shit out of his home, in sharp contrast to his first act run-through. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. Hutch causes and survives his own car wreck, anything to get back to his family, and there's no turning back from here. Characters find needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. More of Hutch's past is revealed, including his assassin work for government agencies. He cleans himself up to present his best face to his family, because family comes first, and Becca bears witness to the carnage her boring husband has been capable of all this time. The clarified objective is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. Becca shows the glimpse of a flicker of hope to rekindling the charge in their romance. But he did just execute an armed task force with seemingly his bare hands, so maybe it'll take a second date. An existential conflict that wounds the character's sense of self, worldly identity, or their journey. Through flashback, we're shown the final days of his assassin life and the target he let go. Then the gut-wrenching jealousy of family and happiness that led him to quit the Uncle Sam's house painter gig, and he burns down the evidence of his sleeper agent abilities and rises from the flames. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the Rebirth. Hutch trades his everyday ride for something befitting his new persona. His father proves more capable than we were led to believe possible, and Hutch buys the business. A grand loss directly connected to the character's newfound inability to quit the journey. Julian calls in the full strength of Russian muscle in the area. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. Hutch channels his inner Kevin McAllister with a whole machine shop and warehouse to play with. The mystery radio voice fails to talk him out of going after Julian, then Hutch orchestrates a bloodbath. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Hutch is surrounded by hostiles, with guns pointed at his head. He's a dead man. Characters cannot return to their starting personas, and must turn to face the primary objective. Hutch extends an olive branch by way of arson-fueled extortion, then riles up the Russian beehive with some impressive stunt work. Characters move towards the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. Hutch burrows in at the machine shop for his final stand. The mysterious radio voice grows into a gun-toting human being, and accompanied by his gun-toting father who laments his own attempt at retirement from this violent life. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. Through the smoke and blood spatter of a rated R Home Alone adaptation, the Mancells prove they ain't nothing to fuck with. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Hutch charges full on in his super assassin identity. The direct aftermath of the climax. Julian is probably dead, but everything is on the table for the sequel. Then the extended Mancell family fades back into the woodwork, and Hutch lobs a Hail Mary to get his marriage and family life back on track. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters in the status quo. Hutch sits in police interrogation and offers little in the way of explanation, and a mysterious phone call proves that he won't have to. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. Reunited, Hutch and Becca house hunt with big romantic dreams, but a call to action suggests that super assassin retirement will likely never be his lifestyle. And there you have it, my 43rd example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. Nobody excels at keeping the pace charged, waiting into each sequence only long enough to touch base, yet every step of the 29-point story structure is accounted for. But does this deceptively hilarious shoot-'em-up follow the same plot beats as the stylistically gothic supernatural romp that's haunted by the ghost with the most? Yes, it arguably does. Next on my docket, Beetlejuice. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk to you next time.